Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to welcome you today to this conference in which you are going to discuss modern trends in the process of integrating universities into the international educational space. I thank the organizers of the conference for inviting me to address you for a few minutes. I want to share with you a couple of insights that may, at least this is my hope, help us to rethink our stance regarding the internationalization of higher education from the student's perspective. The insights that I want to share with you today are related to the concept of global learning, how to bring it to life, and how this concept is tied with the home and abroad education concept. It is most probable that this conference was organized before knowing that it would take place in the middle of the pandemic of COVID-19. As we all know, internationalization of higher education has always been a challenge. Trying to unveil what it is, how to accomplish it, and how to make it more accessible to more and more students. So now, the people responsible for internationalizing higher education, especially those at the universities, have a new variable in the equation when thinking how to develop new actions. This conference will render more fruits if it identifies the key factors to enhance global learning rather than the means to accomplish them in the so-called the new normality. My name is Pedro Ramirez. I was born in Guadalajara, Mexico, and throughout the years I had the opportunity to live several international experiences. First, in my childhood, as a son of a migrant living abroad in the United States. Later, in my professional life, working for several years in a Mexican university at the International Relations Office, and currently developing a large education project in Italy. Talking about internationalization of higher education, for decades, it has been associated as a synonymous with global mobility. Since 9/11, mobility, especially international flights, went through restrictions that had been increased as time passes by. Now, after the COVID-19 outbreak, we're going to experience more restrictions. So for the near future, with COVID-19, if internationalization is to remain a defining feature of university life, we must reimagine it. With COVID-19 affecting all aspects and sectors of human life, it brings us the opportunity to rethink, redesign, and relaunch internationalization in a non-mobile world, or at least in a partially mobile world. This crisis opportunity provoked by COVID-19 has radically changed the way we learn, teach, and engage with our students and colleagues. Like in many sectors, we see the disruption in universities as an opportunity to re-examine several aspects, in which is the purpose and intended impact of internalization on teaching and learning. In this context, my insights so far regarding how to deal with this new reality for the internationalization of the higher education are two. On one hand, mobility has been traditionally seen as an end in itself, rather than a means of connectivity for teaching, learning, and research. Therefore, this is my first insight. Instead of thinking mobility as a defining element of internationalization of higher education, why don't we better think in a global learning beyond mobility? This at least will shift us from the means to the very true elements that are underlying the reasons and the benefits of having a global perspective in education. This does not mean that mobility has to be banished out. Of course not. It is just shifting global learning from mobility as it is as an obliged condition. For instance, in my home university, TESO, the Jesuit University from Guadalajara, several years ago we brought the mountain to Muhammad, inviting several international lecturers for our summer program instead of sending abroad our students. Not only our students benefit from lectures with a global perspective, but also the lecturers themselves spread their international experience once they are back home. On the other hand, a great majority of university policies and practices around internationalization had created and reinforced a distinction between home and abroad education, as if they were opposites. Several years ago, I read Roger Martin's book, The Opposable Mind: How Successful Leaders Win Through Integrated Thinking. Successful business people engage in what Martin calls integrated thinking, creatively resolving the tension in opposing models by forming entirely new and superior ones. Let me repeat it. Resolving the tension in opposing models by forming entirely new and superior ones. This may be the case for mobility as a condition for internationalizing higher education. Regarding inbound and outbound programs, maybe this distinction lead us to a dead end if we see these terms as opposite concepts, as concepts in tension. So the second insight is this: can it be possible to think in programs for global learning that have a mix of local, virtual, and abroad learning experiences? Alternatively, in an extreme, not having any abroad face-to-face experience at all? Is this possible? The challenge is for you and for those people and institutions with and the power to undo and redo the system from within and to create the conditions for global learning to be designed, accessed, and experienced in more rich ways for a majority of students and not for only few. Therefore, my invitation is to dismantle some of the preconceptions aspects of the internationalization of higher education in order to build new visions. We are in a precious moment to reflect on the trueness of global learning. Meanwhile, the new normality arrives. This new normality will give an enhanced meaning of education in a world of social togetherness as a counterpart of a world of physical distance. Indeed, we are living in challenging times. Thank you for your attention.